I was both a doctor and a politician at the same time. Well, my dad was part of the PAP and worked very closely with the first generation of leaders, including Mr. Lee Kuan Yew.
I tell jokes to drunk people in bars for a living. My father has never once shown off about that.
You can't say that you're in politics and then you don't care about elections. The elections are the process through which the people say, yes, we agree with you. Your mandate is at the ballot box.
Hey folks, welcome to the Rishi Report SG60 podcast series. Those of you who've been following the show since 2020, you're aware that we love talking about the news, we love talking about current affairs. This is a show where we bring you broken news by broke comedians. Today in the studio, there's only one broke comedian, that's me, but I'm lucky to have a very special guest in the house who has actually interviewed me before. The tables now turn, and I am going to be talking to this person we have in the house, Dr. Janil Puthucheary. What's going on, sir? Welcome on the show.
Hi, how are you doing, Rishi?
How's it going, man, Doc?
Not bad, not bad. This is the second time we're on an interview together.
And the last time I was your guest.
You were. We were doing a show, one of the CNA documentaries, but I think your production values, I mean, you got lights everywhere.
Yeah,
lights everywhere, shining off the top of my head. I'm just saying, we didn't have that. We didn't have that. We made you look good on our show.
I'm so sorry, but we have no budget for makeup artists.
Ouch.
After spending all the money on the production studio.
And the logo.
And the logo, man.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah, that's not AI, by the way. It's all me. It's all real Sindhi main.
Ouch.
Is what I used to have.
Ouch. Okay.
No. But no, it's a real pleasure to have you here. I'm always just curious, besides trying to steal jobs from me hosting on CNA, what is it that Janil does in his official capacity in Singapore?
Well, I got a many list of titles. I'm one of those jokers. When the MC starts announcing my name, I have to wait 15 minutes before it's my turn to go up on stage. Because my name is long, and then they go through. So I'm a senior minister of state in a couple of ministries: Ministry of Health, Ministry of Digital Development and Information. I have some other roles. In the party, I chair the Young PAP. I chair the mental health group. I'm party whip. And then I do some other stuff, not quite a side gig. I chair onepeople.sg, which was the capacity in which I was interviewing you previously.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing that I suppose grounds me and gets me quite a lot of, or takes quite a lot of my time and effort is my service to the residents of Punggol. I'm the Member of Parliament for Punggol Coast Division as part of Punggol Town. And I'm the father of 3 kids. I'm just that's part of my designation.
You think saying that last will be a problem with the family?
No.
Dad mentioned us last on the Rishi's podcast,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
what is this? Family should be first.
Okay. I'll do that next time. That means you have to have me back.
I will. Always.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Thank you so much for sharing. And you are right. This is really a lot of roles you play serving Singapore.
Yeah,
And if I were the MC, I will not read everything. I'd be like, sir, can I choose one
Yes,
for
please.
today's event?
Yeah.
And before doing all this, you were a practicing doctor.
I was, and I technically still am. Although I'm not a practicing doctor, I'm full-time in politics since I became Minister of State in 2016.
Right.
But previously I was working at KK Hospital and I was doing pediatric intensive care.
Okay. Actually, we sorry to get so serious so early about this, but my nephew has been having a bit of a cough.
I see.
It's been 4-5 days already.
I see.
So my mom asked me to check with you.
Your mom asked you? Yeah, okay.
She said, Beta is having a little cough. Can you ask the doctor?
I see.
Should we go in to check or any remedies you can suggest?
I see.
Again, this is
just for your mom and for your nephew.
For them.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
small boy.
Auntie, tell him to stop smoking first.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Okay, that's good. Glad we got that out of the way. So that's why don't be a cheapo Indian fella trying to get free advice from doctor just because he's Indian. Okay.
Yeah, wasn't it good advice? I mean, shouldn't he?
Yeah. No smoking. You heard that, bro. Don't start. Okay, very good. That's cool to me that you moved from a fairly illustrious career of being a doctor in Asian families. Let's be very honest.
I see. My dad had a word with you. Did he? No.
No. I've not spoken to uncle. No, I have not. But it's a high quality career, right? To be a doctor in the Asian community, whether a doctor, lawyer, engineer. I tell jokes to drunk people in bars for a living. My father has never once shown off about that, like, hey, you know, my son. But Dr. Janil, right,
Yes.
was something I'm sure Dad would have been proud of, right? And making that shift from medicine to politics.
Yeah.
How did that go down with the fam?
Well, not as bad as your intro suggests.
Oh, boy.
I mean, my mom is a physician, and of course she was very happy for me to be in medicine, and imagined that I would continue. When I started in politics, my dad was quite happy and quite proud of it. I mean, he as you know had some history in politics as well, and the whole idea of community service he thought very highly of, and he said to me he was proud that I was doing this. Of course, when I first stepped into politics as a backbencher, I continued as a doctor. It was only then when I became a minister of state that I then had to, stop practice. So in a way, that first transition, everybody was happy. I was both a doctor and a politician at the same time. I was ticking both.
Yeah.
I didn't go and, become a lawyer and an engineer at the same time just to make everybody happy. That's not possible, bro.
Well, I mean, the trifecta is difficult to achieve, but not impossible.
No,
I'm sure
maybe
there's
after
some-
politics. No, so I was a doctor and a politician at the same time. But now I'm full-time in politics and have been for some time. Yeah.
How did, I mean, if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about your dad, right? Because of course, like you mentioned, he was a part of the political landscape
Many years ago.
in the history of our nation. How did he react to or respond to the fact that, now my son is also going in? It's, I just imagine my dad's a tailor. So if I said I'm opening my own tailoring business, I'm sure my dad will be like, you sure you can do it as good as I did? Are you sure you wanna you think you can beat the OG? You think you can be as effective as the OG?
Obviously, you're a competitive family. I can see.
Sindhi families, what to say.
You did a show about your dad.
I did. Yeah, it was a show called "Can I Make You a Suit, Mate?"
Yes. Yeah.
Honoring his legacy, talking about his struggles, and I think we do always go back to our roots in a way.
Indeed.
So I'm trying to understand. If you don't mind setting up a little bit of context about your dad's involvement in politics in the history of Singapore.
Well, my dad was part of the PAP and worked very closely with that first generation of leaders, including Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. But he was also part of the group that then went out and set up Barisan Socialists. So he basically had been on both sides of that divide in the history of Singapore. By the time I came along, all this was old news, and my dad was no longer involved in politics and was practicing as a lawyer. But he continued to just get involved, and so in that generation, he never sits me down and says, you must do community service and give to others and all that kind of thing. That generation of dads, they did stuff and then expected you to sort of watch and learn, right? And what I saw with him growing up was that he was always working for causes, working for the community, working far more outside of just his profession. So in that sense, that's, I think, what I caught. Not so much a political ideology or, his views on economics. And we have a lot of differences on many things. I mean,
Fair. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. It's different generations.
Yeah, it's different generations, but it's, it's also that, we're a family where a conversation would often start just for the sake of argument.
Over dinner.
Over dinner, and then if at the end of it we say, okay, this is my view, this is your view.
Yeah.
Then the next dinner I've changed my view. He will change his view just to have an argument. I mean, this is the kind of
healthy debates.
Healthy debates.
That's how you learn, right? I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not so much his political ideology or the history, but that idea of service to others, that idea of making the world a better place. I could see that in him, and I think he's still beliefs and values that he holds true. I mean, he's alive and very much vigorous today. So yes, that influenced me in my decision to then get involved in politics. But in terms of the actual political ideology, the political landscape, well, look, that was the 60s and 70s that he was involved.
Yep.
It's the world is different, politics is different. The issues are different, but the values are still the same. And he was involved because he had a conviction about what a better tomorrow looked like. And I think in that sense, I'm involved for exactly the same reason.
You have the same
I
feeling.
have a sense that we can make tomorrow better than today, and it needs us to sort of get involved and put our heart and soul into doing that.
Does Dad ever get involved in advising or going, hey, you know?
Have you ever met an Indian dad that doesn't give advice?
They will give advice to other people's children also. I can only imagine to their own son who is involved in, like you say, you know, who has the belief to actually make changes in the nation. I'm sure he's like, you know, son, I think
this speech that you gave, I would have changed it a bit here.
I'm not sure about this, bro. Maybe you should be a bit more iron in you. I want to see the iron. You know, my time. Does he ever go down? Does he ever give the my time speeches?
Well, he does tell me quite a lot about his time and the stories, but I think he follows in the news and developments quite closely. So he's up to date with current affairs. And I think one of the things for him and many people in his generation is how much the world has changed. Right. So then, you know, if I say I'm coming on this podcast with Rishi, I mean, other than like, who is Rishi? I'm just kidding. Sorry. Just couldn't resist.
Man.
Hey, bro, I couldn't resist.
I just got roasted by Senior Minister of State, Janil Puthucheary.
I'm going to pay for that. I'm sure I'm going to pay for that.
Not even directly, via his father.
But to explain then what a podcast is.
Okay.
Right? And why turn up on a podcast and not just turn up on the radio or TV or whatever. So that, I mean, he has a sense of how much the world has changed and that it's a combination of technology, the media space, the expectations of politics. So yes, he does give advice, but actually quite a lot of the time he's also quite curious.
To learn more.
To learn, to understand, and, you know, to engage in some of these issues.
It sounds like like you've got your, like you say, your value system and your belief system from a very rooted foundation.
Yeah.
Well, like you described in your dad.
Yeah, and I have to shout out to my mom as well. You know, like, well, firstly because, you know, she'll listen and then she'll be like, why you never mentioned me, you know?
Auntie, I will mention you. You are the best and you are very good and I can't wait to try. What is the favorite dish that she cooks?
Everything my mom makes. Hey, come on, that's the correct answer. You see, right?
Janil was telling
everything
me
my mom makes tastes fabulous.
Okay.
But I mean, in terms of values and my rootedness, it's not just my dad and his politics. That's what everybody knows about because of the public history. But my mom, well, I mean, she's a physician and she worked in medicine, but she demonstrated many of the same values and ideals of doing stuff for other people, doing stuff for more than just you and yourself, and that you had to. Well, work at service and work at making things better. So 1,000% is, you know, both my parents.
You work with young people a lot. Right?
I do.
So what's your experience been on that front?
No, I think young people are interested. I think young people are interested, and they're interested. They understand this is important to them. It's important to the future of them, their job, but also the country. They have a sense of that, I think. To be confused about what's happening internationally today, I mean, seriously, I mean, the news is changing very rapidly. You know?
We all are.
You know, if you could condense it into a 30-second, you know, précis every day, that'd be very useful. But you can't. It's actually complicated. There's a lot of stuff happening. So it does take a little bit of effort to be informed. And yes, as individuals, as citizens, some of that effort has to be ours to go out and understand and read and listen and learn. But then, well, okay, some of that responsibility is also ours collectively. And I'm including you in this, right? You know, media professionals, communicators, journalists, politicians, community leaders. Part of our role must be then to take these issues and then explain them in ways that can engage the young and bring them along on that journey and have them understand how important this is. So it's both, you know, it takes two hands to clap and every other cliche associated with that.
You think we are on the right path with that in Singapore in terms of, you know, taking that information, distilling it, making young people interested and aware of world events?
I think we do better than many places. So people, for example, they measure institutional trust, they measure trust in the media, they measure trust in journalists. And actually in Singapore, all of those levels are quite high. So that I think is an important marker that all Singaporeans, but young people included, have a sense of wanting the information and trusting the sources of information that are part of our media landscape. We also see that, look, when things happen, you know, National Day or National Day rally or elections or budget, news consumption goes up, right? So what does that tell us? It tells us that people are aware of what's happening today or this week or this month and want more information. And where they're going to that information is indeed what we should consider as trusted sources of information, which they do trust. So that's a virtuous cycle. It doesn't happen everywhere in the world.
Sure.
For now, it's happening in Singapore, and long may it continue. And that includes people making great podcasts. I got to come back for that first comment I made about my dad.
Please don't feel the need to. Don't worry. We really don't take ourselves very seriously, as you can see.
Oh, that's good.
Look at this fella's face. Look at this guy's face. Established 2020. It's not like this is like 18 or what,
Yeah.
But my question was about media trust, for example, you mentioned, right? So when you say people are coming, wanting to consume more information, and you say that perhaps it's because, they trust the sources of information. Do you think that we have enough knowledge and awareness of what are the sources of information to trust, or are people just hungry for spicy news? I'll give you an example. Okay, sometimes information gets forwarded on a WhatsApp group by people, and there's no fact checking, there's no verification, there's no double confirming whether where's this from? This from some scam website or whatever. But you just forward. You're just like, hey, yeah, correct. Yeah, Putin is coming to play against Messi in National Stadium. Yeah, he's going to be there.
No,
so
you're
this
right.
is fabricated. Okay, it's not happening. I'm just giving an example.
Someone's going to clip that up.
I know.
Look, it's true.
Yeah.
Rishi said it.
Rishi report, and then SMS Janil was there, and he acknowledged.
And he nodded.
Putin and Messi.
No, stop! Don't say it again.
No, but I don't know about trust, but I'm just curious about what
it happens. It happens. Look, it happens. It's not that the spread of misinformation doesn't happen, or that people are inadvertently playing their part because they want to look at clickbait or spicy information and forward it. But so we can't pretend it doesn't happen, but we can't also pretend that there's some way to make it never happen. The question is then, can we increase the likelihood of someone when receiving this, say, hey, true or not?
Check first.
Let me go and check a real. No, I'm just kidding.
Let me go to Yalabad and check with the real journalists, Harish and Terence.
Yeah. You were on that show as well. I listened to that one. Yeah, you are a regular there. Yeah.
They are old friends of mine, and they do very, very good work. And a lot of the work that we do inspires each other.
No,
yeah.
Indeed.
And I know you were just there.
I was. I've been with them a couple of times as well.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
So real podcast like that. Okay, I want to just change things up a little bit because again, I hope you don't mind. I have another very serious question.
Okay.
I try to try not to take myself too seriously as a failed journalist, but a serious question is: do you think there is a role for comedians in politics? Why are you laughing? It happens. See, nobody takes me seriously.
No, I thought you were making a commentary about our politicians being comedians. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, see, maybe it's a symbiotic relationship where sometimes comedians deliver meaningful message, and politicians deliver jokes.
Yes, could be.
It could happen, man. Hey, it's happened before.
Well, the PAP, we look for talent in every possible source that we can find it. So we're always out there. I'm saying, scouting. Your show. There's that guy in the cap in the audience. Maybe looked a little familiar. He clapped a little bit slower when you made a joke about the PAP.
That was you. Yeah, the black cap and the hoodie.
Yeah,
you wore the hoodie and the cap, man.
Just to not be suspicious at all.
And the sunglasses. Okay.
No, let me ask you the question the other way around.
Go ahead.
This is a totally serious question.
Yeah.
When I leave politics, do you think I could become a stand-up comedian?
Bro, you could do it right now.
Ouch!
I can get you. Okay, let's be. You said the PAP is always scouting, right?
Yeah.
Hey, comedians are also always looking out for
a partner,
fellow. Hey. I don't want to say
collaborator.
See, jokers and clowns are all very negative, right? But always looking for fellow comedians. People who can deliver good punchlines. Maybe there are people out there who knows. You can tell me. No, but I have to say, we shouldn't take the view that you've done something and then that becomes your label forever. Agree.
Right? I mean, our lives are long.
Yeah.
And there's opportunity to do lots and lots of things. So you started off asking me, I was a doctor, but I'm not. I'm now a politician.
Yeah.
You're a comedian today. You're a journalist or a communicator, and that shouldn't be the label that rests with you no matter what you ever do. It's an experience that you have. It's part of your life, and then you go and do something else.
Yep.
And so actually, in all seriousness, my answer should be yes, and my answer is yes. That actually politics is something that should be open to everybody who has that passion to serve the community, make Singapore a better place.
Yep. I was going to quote, for example, Zelensky in Ukraine.
Yes, he
used to be.
That's right. He had a TV show.
Yeah. He's a very accomplished performer, accomplished comedian, who obviously had some degree of connect with the people, some degree of trust.
That's right.
From the people, which allows him to lead in whatever unfortunate circumstances he is in now.
Yeah.
But, he's the elected leader.
Have you watched that TV show they did? The TV show was about him becoming president.
I have not actually, but...
No, it's quite fascinating
Yep,
because, the whole thing happened where he was president and then there was this comedy about a stand-up comedian becoming president.
in parallel to his real life.
Sometimes fiction is stranger than the truth.
Okay, man. Looks like I got my idea for my next TV show.
So you got to have a TV show first.
Thanks.
Yeah. What are you setting yourself up for? And then make it real.
Okay, fair. I would say I'll send you a check, but you're not allowed to accept
No,
it.
I
Yeah,
cannot. You cannot even offer me. Actually, I think you better.
I would have said I
That was
would
a
have
joke. That was a
offered you.
joke. That was a joke.
Yeah, I cannot. I will send you a bowl of.
No, nothing. Nothing.
No? Okay.
Just a smile and a.
Can I give you a mug from my show, like to drink coffee?
Well, okay.
Okay, let's change things up a little bit, Doc. Can I call you Doc? I don't know
Yes,
why.
you can call me anything you like. Yeah.
Try to get free MC from my own show one day. Can you still issue MCs?
I can.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
still a licensed practitioner. I'm still licensed. I've kept up all the, I go for the training and the certification and
So
all
in
that.
case you need to issue your staff MC, you can, like they have doctor anywhere. You
yes.
can be doctor anyhow. Yeah, just
Everywhere, anyhow. Huh?
no. Don't do that. No, I think you're doing good in the actual work that you're doing. Speaking of world events, current affairs. So I started this particular show and this podcast even to make sure that I keep up with current affairs, with world events. I learn as I have wonderful people like you on the show, and I learn a little bit more about what you're doing, and together we sometimes learn about what's going on around the world. So we have a segment on the show called Wrong Headlines Only. Okay, so we sometimes play this game with comedians where we have a real headline, we block out parts of it, and we just kind of fool around and riff and fill in the blanks as we deem fit.
I see.
So feel free to go wild.
Okay.
Feel free to go wild and say whatever you want. And if they are non-kosher answers, don't worry, bro. We can cut them out for you. Okay? We'll make sure that you are still MP of Punggol at the end of this and you're still Senior Minister of State. Let's have the first blanked out headline without any... Okay, so I can give you some context. This is from CNN in March 20th, recently only. Okay, so there's a team of very accomplished comedians that have picked this headline because they think this blank will allow us to fill in some funny punchlines. Is your brain already churning?
Pokemon will make me...
Pokemon will make you happier than a higher salary. We're learning a bit about SMS Janil right now. Okay, Pokemon. I would say...
it's wrong headlines.
Wrong headlines. Wrong
so
headlines.
you're learning nothing. Surely.
We will eventually reveal the correct ones.
I see.
But I say nothing will make you happier than a higher salary.
Okay. That's probably the true headline, though.
Isn't money the be all and end all of everything?
Ouch. Okay.
No.
No.
Okay. How about having more... Okay, real one. Not funny. I think having more work-life balance, you think?
Yeah.
Might make us a bit...
More sleep will make you happier?
More sleep will make you happier. I'll say unlimited cash will make you happier than having a high salary.
I think you're cheating on that one. I think that's
the real one, right? Why should we just have one particular month of high salary when you can have unlimited cash? Okay, I don't know. No, let's find out what the real one is. Okay. How about just give the real answer, please?
Kindness. Well, I think that's probably true.
Is that fair?
I think that's probably true. I think kindness is one of those things that people are always looking for. It's hard to define. It's hard to define. Are people sincere when they're doing something?
Yep.
Is the relationship a true relationship? Is there friendship? But when you have it, you recognize it. Right? You recognize it, and it's that feeling, and you can't substitute anything for that.
Yeah, you can't. It's one of those intangible values. Like we spoke about values at the start of this show as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that something that you aspire to in your personal and professional life?
To be kind, yes. I think it's one of those things you have to, in a way, make an effort to. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but you have to sort of say, I'm going to deliberately do it. And when you're busy and things are happening, it's very easy to come across as a very rushed very, very brisk, very curt, very
no
professional.
time for this. Yeah.
But the person on the other side doesn't know that you have no time, or doesn't know that actually you had a bad day, right?
Yep.
I remember I had a EduSave Awards ceremony once, and we asked the kids to write little cards,
Right.
and they could, we sort of like express appreciation to your parents or whatever. And this kid, very sweet kid, he wrote an appreciation to me, but he just said, "Thank you for being kind to me."
Oh.
And it was like, I must say, I remembered it, and it touched me. And it was like, for that kid, that simple act of being kind obviously made his day. But actually, he did a kindness to me, because that simple act of telling me how much he appreciated it really made my day.
It made your day, yeah.
Yeah. So actually, this hits home, man. I'm with this.
It's a nice one.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Well done, comedians, for making us teary-eyed rather than laugh.
Well done.
Election is about blank. Bro, this is something wow, must be careful lah.
Oh,
I
I
don't need
see.
to be careful lah, okay?
Yeah.
Election is about CDC vouchers, okay? That's what it's about for me. I want more.
Yeah. Hard for me not to put in a serious answer
No,
for
I
this.
know,
I'm
that's
like,
fine.
do I really need a joke here?
You need to
I'm
wear
like,
your
no.
comedian hat now, bro. After
Yeah.
all the roasting you did.
This election is about podcasts.
It's about podcasts, yeah, fair, safe, good. I see what you did.
Yeah.
This election is about seeing your MP on TikTok.
This election is about the best jokes.
Best jokes, yeah. Actually, bro, that's what it's about for us every election, man.
Ow!
No, man, look, comedians line up and go like, okay, like say, we take a bit more keen interest in the news
Yeah.
to see, hey, what's going on today? What's
Yeah.
going down today? Not just what's going right today, but what's going wrong
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's not so much about, being like, okay, there's a mess up here, let's jump on it. No, it's more about, I think humor is a good digestive to get people interested in the real
Yeah.
issues.
And they pay attention, and then they want to find out what's behind this.
Yeah, sometimes you say,
Yeah.
okay, this is one thing that happened that was, not great, a bit funny, but hey, what's the real thing?
Okay. You're making a pitch for getting comedians to come into politics, I see.
I just
think
making
that's
a pitch for comedians to do more political jokes.
Oh, I see. Oh, well played. Well
Always.
played. Well played. So election is about politics?
It's about clean and fair politicking.
There you go.
Clean and fair politicking.
The election is about the future of our country.
Okay, let's see if that is the correct one. I think this was a very recent headline. Not far. Is this something that you think about? Like, hey, look, because in the midst of serving your constituents, which I would imagine is one of the top priorities in the work that you do you think about the elections? Do you think about the politics side of it? Do you like that side of it?
Well, it's necessary. You have to win the mandate of the people, right? So you can't say that you're in politics and then you don't care about elections. The elections are the process through which the people say, yes, we agree with you. Yes, I give you the mandate. Yes, I want you to get these things done for me. In order to win an election and get the mandate, you have to get involved in the politics and not just the policy and not just the community service. All of those are things that you then do with the mandate. So it's not that they're separate, right? Because you can't go and pretend that you're only about the elections and the politics and are not prepared to serve. And if you're the incumbent, if you've been there on the ground, you're working the ground, and people see that you have been serving and you have been doing the community stuff and have been representing the views of the people, well, that feeds into then the politics and the elections and the mandate. But today, these elections that are coming up, as referenced in the headline, the environment is very different.
How so?
Well, you look at the headlines, the real headlines, not the blanked out headlines, the real headlines. Internationally, many things are changing. The geopolitical situation, I think people understand how much is changing because they can see what's happening with the leadership in other parts of the world, large countries, small countries. But it's not just about the political leadership and the positions that they're taking on issues. The way in which trade and prosperity has been developed for the last 70 years after the Second World War is potentially at risk and may well change if supply chains are interrupted, global trade is interrupted. How do people seek out a future? What's my job going to be if I'm a 17-year-old, if I'm a 25-year-old, just getting going in the job market? Is this area going to give me opportunity? Is that area? That's changing as well. And then all that then feeds into what should we be doing here in Singapore.
Mm.
In Punggol, I have a lot of young families.
Yeah.
And their kids will be asking, what kind of career should I be choosing? I've got Punggol Digital District just getting going.
Yeah.
Tech-related jobs, AI, robotics. We had a sort of a promise for bringing in all of these developments, not just in Punggol, but in Singapore, that this was going to be part of our next bound of growth. Mm-hmm. But getting that right means we have to have the right relationships with external parties. Some of them are companies, some of them are very large companies, some of them are countries. Some of them are suppliers, some of them are our customers. So it's not just about the geopolitics, it's about what's the career for my kids, what's the opportunity for my family.
Where do we stand on that front in your view right now? Are we healthily positioned, or is there a lot of work left to be done there?
Well, currently we are indeed in a healthy position. But you have to ask yourself why. We're not in a healthy position by luck, by chance, or that it's going to be our destiny forever. I mean, people want to invest in Singapore. Companies are coming here, creating opportunities here. Investments are coming in. And people see Singapore as a serious player on the international stage. Whether it's our views on AI, whether it's our views on the geopolitics, investments here, economics, our leadership is taken seriously, and there is a confidence in what we represent as a country. That has taken a lot of hard work and effort.
Yep.
And, it sounds like you're overstating and scaremongering, but you can put all that effort in, and, well, there are plenty of examples out there today. In a matter of a week or two, all that can flip and change. And the view that people have of a country, of a leadership, of a government, of a people can change in a very short period of time if something goes wrong. So I think, yes, it's relevant, and it's relevant that we have to maintain that healthy position.
Yep.
And maintaining that healthy position is not, sit back and relax. It's going to require some hard work and effort to make sure we get it right.
And it starts, of course, with doing it within your constituency, and then kind of building it up to a national level, and then into a global level.
Indeed. This idea that international politics, diplomacy, it starts at home.
Yep.
Having that sense of cohesion and purpose that we have as Singaporeans. It's like the air, it's around us. We take it for granted, but actually it's there because of a lot of work from the community.
Yep. Can I bring you back to a point you made earlier when I had asked you a little bit about serving and then the politics side of it, and you made a very clear that your opinion is that it's all intertwined, right? It can't be independent.
Yeah.
And you also talked about how you cannot just show up during election season and then you don't do the work leading up to it, and then you just try and get elected. Does that still happen, you think, in politics?
Well,
and is that something that we need to be concerned about?
Well, no. Does it happen? I mean, I feel like you're leading me to speak about the opposition.
No.
But
You don't, look, don't have to, but I it's not what I'm asking. I'm asking that do you feel like that happens? And not just in Singapore, right? Globally. And if it does happen, is that even effective? Or are our people savvy enough to go like, hey, hello, I never see you serving, suddenly you come out only during election?
Well, no, I think if you're a new candidate, if you're here for the first time, you're saying, look, it's my first time in politics. I mean, as I was in 2011, I don't have a 15-year runway to say that I've served you for the last 15 years, therefore now elect me. But a new candidate has to, in a way, make a promise that they will serve. And they need to be able to then show that their track record, the kind of person they are, the character that they have, means that the residents, the constituents will get the support and service that they deserve. But I think if you're an incumbent, you have a track record, you've been there, then you need to have been effective. And the residents see that you're effective, your constituents see that you're effective, then that's why they give you the mandate and they support you again. Yeah. So I think there's a distinction between a new candidate and someone who's been around for a while.
If you are not an incumbent, like you say yourself, you're almost like a veteran. At least in your own constituency.
14 years I've been there.
Yeah, you've been serving your constituents as long as I've been doing stand-up comedy. And maybe even making fun of some of your constituents in Punggol. Sorry.
Both of us getting better every day, bro. Both of us getting better every day.
I've done some jokes about Punggol, especially when there was the wild boar escape there.
Well, hey.
But good on those guys who went to find the wild boar. I'll come back to learn a bit more about Punggol because I've got so many friends who are young friends with families who grew up there. That was their first home, their first area. You know, all of us visited them, brought our passports along, subscribed to international roaming.
Bro, we have the MRT and bus service, okay? It's not so ulu, okay? End of the Northeast Line for sure.
No. It's all in good fun. But I'm trying to understand, if someone is a new candidate.
Yeah.
Right. How do they display their track record? So one phenomenon we've seen this year, it's been quite a few senior civil servants or civil servants in senior positions who are announcing that they're stepping down from their roles to run as potential candidates in GE 2025.
Yeah.
Is that one way to display your track record?
Well, no, this applies not just to civil servants. It applies to anybody who's a new candidate. And it doesn't apply just to the ruling party. It applies to all the parties. There are people who will step into politics for the first time. And you must have an environment where it's okay for people to do that. We have to be able to say, look, any citizen, you have a passion to serve, you have the ability to do good things and do things well. We want you to step in. You can't, it's like the job market. If everybody says, I'm only going to get people who are 5 years experience, how do you start getting your 5 years experience?
With proven track record only.
Someone needs to start as an intern somewhere along the way. But when you rock up on the first day, are you a good person? How do you behave? How do you engage? What is your character?
Yeah.
And yes, some of that people will look at what you've done previously. It's not just what did you achieve or what are your certs or what steps have you gone through or, what is the history of your postings?
Yep.
But how did you perform? What kind of person were you? How did the people around you engage with you? And then now that you've turned up as a candidate, how do you present yourself? Are you making outlandish promises that no one believes? I mean, the Singaporeans are too smart for this kind of nonsense.
They are, right? So
They
that's
are,
what
they
I'm
are.
landing on. I think that's important. Like we maybe in a way as a people began to be able to see past the BS.
Yeah, no, I think we are. We are very rational. We're very reasonable. And, if people are making outlandish promises or making promises or making claims which can't be substantiated and, in fact, maybe don't necessarily always deliver good. People see past that. But you turn up and you say, I understand the problems of this constituency, where I want to serve. I know this is important to the people who are there. I have some ideas about what I can do for you.
Right.
People can see that. And I think that's what new candidates have to do. And the new candidates that do that well get elected because Singaporeans are reasonable people who can, as you say, see through nonsense if it is there.
Fair.
So I think that's how I would say, look, let's not create a system where no one can get into politics for the first time. That's terrible. You want new people to come in and refresh our political landscape and refresh our political parties.
Understood on that point. Agreed 100%. That it should be something that's inclusive and almost not really welcoming, but it should be open enough for people to want to volunteer to serve, right? Even on a political level. What about the money aspect of it? I'm asking genuinely, right? There's some kind of election deposit you got to put up front. What if you can't find a way to be funded? Is that
Well, the election deposit, as far as I don't know for sure.
Sure.
But I don't think it is a deterrent.
Okay.
Simply because if you look at it, we have actually a fair number of political parties that are registered. We have a fair number of parties that are contesting the election and have contested elections for some time. And every constituency is contested. So the election deposit is not a barrier to remove an electoral choice or the democratic process for Singaporeans.
Yep.
Then it's not, the electoral deposit is actually only one part of the money.
Sure.
The other component is how much you're allowed to spend. And the
in campaigning.
And that's very tightly restricted. $4 per voter it was in 2020. I don't recall if they've announced what it's going to be for.
Oh, this is sorry, I wasn't aware of this part of it, but you're saying allowed to spend, excuse me, and who decides this or who?
ELD.
ELD will tell you, hey, the budget that you're allowed to spend is X dollars per voter.
That's right. And then you have to declare all your expenses.
That means your posters and your social media spending.
That's right. That's
wow.
right. So and it's actually, if you compare to what happens in many other countries, that spending restriction is quite tight. So one is that it reduces the burden in terms of entry, right? If you have a system where it's unlimited spending or very high, then the parties with a lot of money get in, and then the parties with not enough funds can't even cross the barrier. But so the spending cap is very tight, and so then that also means it's easier for parties to participate in the electoral process. But it also has a very important function in terms of keeping our system clean and having everything declared in terms of the finances. So my sense is that it is unlikely to be a barrier.
Fair.
And I think the evidence is every constituency contested for the last few elections.
That's a healthy thing, right, for Singapore, that all constituencies are contested.
Yeah, I mean, I think Singaporeans like to have that choice at the ballot. The step, or the rate limiting step, as it were, I think is then people. It's not so much about the financing process, but whether there are people willing to step up into that role.
Quality people, right?
Yeah,
You
that's
need
right.
people who are, again, willing to serve and able to have some kind of skill set to do that.
That's right. They need a character, and that character isn't just about the passion and the drive. I mean, that is so, and that is very, very important. But Singaporeans, as I say, they see through it. You can have character, you can have drive, but are you the right type of person? You know, the integrity, the honesty, the accountability. Are you doing this for the right reasons?
Yep.
The landscape has changed. New candidates are scrutinized. I mean, social media feeds are there, and whole history is dragged up. And so you also need people of a certain character, not just to have that integrity and honesty, but to, in a way, engage in that public scrutiny.
Sure.
And so I think that's what determines whether there are candidates who are available.
Contested constituencies. Yours, very likely, will be. You've been serving for 14 years. We established that. Of course, you've had to balance certain things, not just being an MP on the ground in Punggol, but also being someone who's well-versed enough on the policy level to be able to discuss, advocate for, and debate some of these policies. How do you juggle those two roles? Are they, are there conflicting issues that you have to figure out?
No, well, when I get asked that question, it's almost like, I need certain hours for this part of the job and certain hours for that part of the job. But actually, they're both part of the same job.
Right.
What do you advocate for? How do you know what to advocate for? You have to be connected to the ground in order to know what are the issues that are affecting the families, affecting the constituents. How do you understand what are the nuances of policy that will affect families, right? You can't just look at policy in a vacuum and sit there and look at the papers and do your desktop research, right? I mean, it's informed by your interaction with the constituents and the residents that you serve. So the two sides are linked. And when you then have national policies which need to be executed and rolled out, again, it's not enough just to have the high principle. It's like, how does this translate into, how do people actually apply for it?
At the grassroots level.
At the grassroots level. Like you apply for the assistance, and then if the assistance come, how can you spend it? Or what is it that you can do with this? There's the execution and the operations that are very, very important to make sure that the policies are successful. Vaccinations, you can say everybody should be vaccinated against COVID-19.
How?
But you've got to actually have people turn up, understand that this is safe, register, and so the two sides are entirely linked. You can't do one and not the other.
Right. Do you feel like it's something that you've become better at over the years?
Well, I certainly hope so. I mean, I think so.
I mean, it's a long time.
No, I'm still learning. Absolutely. 14 years feels like a long time, but I'm still learning. And part of it is there's just so much to learn, right? You can't be an expert at everything, and occasionally I will have a resident come in at MPS, and it's like, I've never encountered that situation before.
So something totally new.
Totally new.
Are you able to share an example?
I don't want to share a specific example because you end up identifying the person.
Okay, fair. That's okay.
But the point I want to make is that just because you come across something new doesn't mean you can't do anything, right? Now, I mean, if you have experience about how the system works, very importantly, you know how to go and get help. You can call people up and say, look, and then it gets back to that issue of trust and the kind of person, right? The resident, I think, now who comes in after 14 years, they know me, and I say, look, this is the first time I've ever come across this situation before. I don't know how to help you today, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you. I hope they trust that I will get back to them.
Yep.
And that they'll come back and see me next week after I've done the research and got all the information, and we'll follow up. And I've had a couple of situations like that.
Okay.
So 14 years on, I'm still learning. But I think what has changed is that, well, I have a certain sense of confidence, and my residents know me a lot better.
Okay. So yeah, that's about building that relationship over the years.
Absolutely.
Well. Right. Building that relationship, building trust with your constituents and your residents. For example, recently there was the Electoral Boundary Committee report that is released. And I think you've spoken about it as well. Does the redrawing of the boundaries sometimes affect that relationship you've built with a certain group of residents over the years? And then, when the boundaries come out, it's like, oh, okay, we've got to change things now because these people that I've been connecting with over the years, now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to serve them if I'm elected. How do you deal with that or negotiate that? Or how does even a resident understand that process?
Well, yes, it can affect it, and I've been through that. My constituency that I started serving in 2011, part of it went to Miss Sun Shrilling in 2015, and then became an SMC in 2020.
Yeah.
But what's the counter? The boundaries never change? Cannot be so, right?
Yep.
I mean, how can you have a situation where the boundaries never change? So the boundaries have to change for a variety of reasons, and one is that the population grows.
Yep.
And the population growing, you have to change the boundaries so that you have a certain proportion of residents to the MPs. And certainly in Punggol, the population has grown very dramatically since I started in 2011. And so very understandable that those boundaries were changed. I think the role then for us as politicians, as community leaders, or subsequently you want to go and contest an election, cannot be, well, it was easier for me last time, then I want it to continue to be easy. I mean, that's the wrong answer. These are the residents that are there and they need to be served. We should go and engage with them and find a way to then learn, engage, produce some ideas and serve them.
Yep.
I think if you take the view that, well, because I've gone and walked those blocks, therefore I now have some right to always go and represent, that's not how it works. Your mandate is at the ballot box.
So what, again, genuine question here, but what happens then, like from the viewpoint of someone who's serving on the ground? Do you then adjust your interaction with people like, hey, sorry, I know we've known you for 5 years, but now elections are coming soon, and now this is the ward, the constituency that I'm working with. So sorry.
No, well, firstly,
how does that work?
The boundaries don't actually change until the election.
Right. Okay.
Right. So today, I'm still part of the Pasir Ris Punggol team.
Right.
So everybody that I was serving before the boundaries came out, I'm still serving.
Okay, fair.
What happens is then when you go into the election, that's when the boundaries change. And then you stand on the basis of, this is what I'm going to do for you for the next 5 years. Right?
Okay.
So in a way, it's no different from a new candidate turning up and having to say, well, I wasn't your MP previously, and I now would like to offer to serve you as an MP. Are you going to choose me to serve you within these new boundaries?
Yep.
So I think that's part of the confusion. It's not that the boundaries report
overnight, it doesn't suddenly...
No, absolutely. Absolutely not. The old boundaries are still valid today and only change when the election is happening. And what they are is then a commitment for the next term of parliament and the next government.
Yep.
But the other thing is, of course, that, look, no resident looks at the boundaries and says, oh, I'm going to go to this CC, I'm going to go to that shopping mall because it's in my GRC. I mean, you do this? Cannot be, right? You go where the facilities are.
Yep.
You take whatever transport you need, you go whatever the shops are. You can't quite do that for...
Is that...
Oh, that's the air conditioner.
There's the air purifier.
Okay.
Going like, can you all purify your conversation a little bit?
Like the most low-tech device in the room suddenly gives us an alarm.
Sorry.
No problem. No, so you can't do that as for your representation as a member of parliament, right? I mean, so let's say you need an appeal written, you need a representation from a member of parliament. You have to go to the one where you are a registered voter, a registered citizen, and then it's your MP. That link is important. But for almost everything else, so all the other roles that we play, running activities and events and services. So we have reading program for low-income students. Well, you turn up to Punggol Library, you will be part of this. So it's a very particular set of things where there's a tight nexus. Political representation, letters of appeal, a member of parliament. But for all the other things that we...
Sorry.
This is awesome.
First time ever
the light relief has been provided by an air conditioner.
Air conditioner. Like we were talking about these heavy issues and important things about, political representations and MP appeals and letters and...
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
So, but for everything else, how you run the town, the services, the facilities, well, I mean, people go where they will get the service that they need.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's an issue for the electoral process. It's part of our system. But what would be worse, that the boundaries are fixed forever, or that people get to determine where the boundaries should be because of where they intend to contest? Surely the key thing about how the boundaries are determined should be by the civil service discharging that duty without fear or favor, which is what has happened with the LD.
Is there sufficient transparency to the people of how these boundaries are disclosed, do you feel?
Well, the report does detail how the boundaries were determined and why it was so. And they went through actually at a fairly granular level, but it demonstrates how they're thinking about it. And if you are disadvantaged, you can make a case that could it be more transparent? And maybe but nobody who's advantaged then, including some of the opposition figures, then has a view on this, right? So I think the issue is that this is a function of the civil service. They've done it professionally. They've explained how they've done it professionally. And I think we should do our best to uphold the trust in the institution. And I think that's an important outcome for us.
That's fair. No, thank you for commenting on that. I appreciate that. Final message to, our limited listeners in one of these early episodes about your work in Punggol. I'm just trying to understand, is there something different that you can expect? For example, for me, I'm an East Coast kid. You know what I'm saying? Like what's happening in Punggol that's exciting for the rest of Singapore to go check it out, or what the plans are for yourself and your constituents moving forward?
I think people don't quite appreciate that it's not the so ulu last time at the end of Punggol Road. There's a jetty, then there's seafood. We still have the jetty, we still have the seafood, but we got a lot more stuff going on.
Why do I feel like I've said that before sometime?
I'm just saying. I think I was there when you cracked the joke, my friend. I was the one clapping slowly.
Okay. No, go on. I'm with you.
With that huge population growth, actually what I see is a lot of families that are moving in. So quite a lot of my experience with my residents is like, my children bought a place there, and then now I've moved in to be with them. Or my brothers moved in, and then my siblings have moved in. So I've got a lot of my residents who have come in as family networks. So there's a certain warmth of the neighborhood, the networks that are there. The physical stuff, lots of stuff has been built. We've got Punggol Digital District, 20,000 jobs turning up. SIT, Singapore Institute of Technology.
Yep.
We've got malls, North Shore Plaza, Punggol Coast waterfront. But we've got a sense that there's quite a lot of work to be done. We've got new families moving in, couples that have got their first married home. Congratulations.
Yep.
But, they're having kids, and then they need childcare, and they need schooling, and they need the facilities. And you've got this huge rush of children that are turning up. And we've got to make sure that they have facilities.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some families who are trying to, do the needful to have an SG60 baby to get the package also.
I highly recommend that they do so in Punggol. More SG60 Punggol babies.
Oh, man, that's a nice rebranding for SG60, but if you want to do it,
ouch! No. Yeah.
For Singapore, come to Punggol, waterway.
I think that may have crossed a little bit of a line there, my friend.
SG60 babies in Punggol.
I think so.
That's what we want.
I think so. But we also have senior citizens. We've got an increasing number of senior citizens. We've got to make sure we have facilities there. So I guess Punggol, in a way, it's completely different from when I started as an MP.
Sure.
It's really completely different from the last time you went to visit. But we've got a lot of things that are being developed. There's a lot more to be done.
Right.
We've got to build the facilities, deal with the problems of a very rapidly growing population, make sure that the services are there, and then have those networks of neighborhoods and warmth and family and friendship. Not so different from our whole country. SG60. You know, we've Singapore in 2025 is completely different from where we were in 1965.
Yep.
A lot of benefits, a lot of prosperity and progress, but there's a lot of things still to be done. Some of it in response to what's happening outside, some of it in response to the changing nature of our population and our situation, but it's going to require active involvement to develop Punggol, develop Singapore, and create the opportunities for the next generation.
And it's nice of you to say that. I think that it is almost growing in parallel to the way Singapore has grown.
Indeed.
Over the past years.
Indeed.
Okay, good, man. I think there's at least, some pull factor for me to go to Punggol and check it out and say hello to Doc Janil.
I will take you on a tour.
Okay, on that note, thank you so much, SMS Janil, for making time. Appreciate you being a guest on the Rishi Report. We're going to say goodbye to all of you and check out our next episode dropping very, very soon.